Hey,
Hi, hello everyone, and welcome to WebXR Bootcamp 2020. It's a pleasure to have everyone of you joining us. And I have you, Excellency.
hello, how's it going?
Yeah, so Fabio will be talking on UI design for WebXR, and he's also a WebXR engineer. So, Fabio, can you pull up your screen so we can start and then do a quick intro of yourself?
There is some interference I'm seeing in the chat. I'm not sure where it's coming from. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear this. Yes.
Okay, there is, oh, it's gone. It's gone, ha, it's gone. But I'm not sure if you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes, Fabio, I can hear you. Yeah, this is
Okay,
go.
I will start, right? I'm not hearing you pretty well. There's some interference. I'm not sure if people are hearing me okay? Hello? Okay. So it's okay. It is okay. Let's do it. Okay. Okay. Let's start. UI design for WebXR. First of all, I'm so happy to be here. This is an amazing event. I'm so excited about this. It's an amazing community behind, and there are a lot of terrific, super talented speakers in the lineup. There are 24 hours of content. It's amazing. Okay. As you can see, we're going to talk today about UI design for WebXR. I am Fabio Cortez. I am a Colombian software engineer. I am currently working at EPFL at the Laboratory for Biomolecular Modeling. This is a university in Lausanne, Switzerland. And when we start talking about WebXR, the first question that comes up is why WebXR? Why running immersive content on the web? And the answer is pretty simple. The web is everywhere. You have a web browser in nearly every device that you have, from your phone or your tablet, your laptop, even in your TV or in your video game console, there are a web browser. And also in the VR headsets, there's also a web browser. It's not a surprise that, according to Oculus people, one of the most used apps in the Oculus devices is the web browser. So the web is everywhere. So it makes sense to deliver some content in the web because also the web is open. You can deliver instant content open to anybody everywhere in the world. And there are no obstacles for sharing. And there is also a huge open source culture in the web. So you can reach almost everyone in any corner of the world if you deliver your content via web in general. And this is possible thanks to WebXR because the web content that you can share is instant. You don't need any kind of installations in your device because you can just send a link. The people open the link and they are in the immersive content immediately. And it's also cross-compatible. The same content you create for your desktop will work in your headset or in your mobile phone. And it's performant, predictable, and reliable. There are also no gatekeepers here because the content is not being regulated by anyone. There is no app store. So anyone consume XR content right from the browser. And this is possible thanks to the WebXR API, which was launched in December from last year. A fun fact about this slide is that when I created these icons a few months ago and I used them again for this talk, I thought, okay, the WebXR API was launched a few months ago in December. But it's a shame we are not in March anymore. Even my mind believes I am in March, but we are not in March. So this was launched 1 year ago. So it has quite some time out there with several improvements and several people working behind of it. And now in the web, using the WebXR API, you can access the 6 degrees of freedom of the movement in your VR or AR headset. This means that you can track the position of the user walking in a certain space while consuming the application. Also, there are better controls and better control handling, trying to standardize all the control and the inputs of these kind of applications and the hardware. And one of the most important and one of my favorite features is that you can have the same code based on the same API for an experience based on augmented reality or virtual or mixed reality. And this is one of the most amazing improvements that we have had with the launching of WebXR API. And what does it mean is that now we can say goodbye to Flatland. Now we can create and deliver 3D and immersive content on the web, and this has never been easier. We will see an example coming soon. And now, as I told you, you can create AR, VR, or MR at once. And we are going to start taking a look to this example, which is called Homer Metaverse. You can open it in this URL at Glitch. And I created this demo a few months ago, and the goal was to recreate my first memory about virtual reality. Maybe it's the same case for you. I have found a lot of people that share the same memory about virtual reality. It's from an episode from The Simpsons from 1995, where Homer enters in a 3D world, another dimension. I'm not sure what was going on back then, but he was in his own dimension. So I tried to recreate the same memory, but in this case, using WebXR with A-Frame. You can see this application, this experience in your browser or in your phone, or in the browser of your phone, and the browser of your desktop, or even if you have a VR headset, you can see that there too. This is how you will see if you open it in a desktop. But also, if you open it in a browser that has support for the WebXR API, for example, Google Chrome, you will see this in augmented reality. And you can see here Homer and all his Taurus donuts in a beautiful park in Bogota, Colombia. As you can see, with the same application, with the same code, you can create the content that you are seeing in the browser of your desktop. Not a super immersive experience, but a 3D as well, but also in AR. And now let's take a look. How does it look in VR? This is a video that I recorded a few days ago in Oculus Quest 2, and I'm seeing Homer in VR mode. As you can see, we also have hand tracking there, which is in beta as part of the WebXR API, which is another amazing opportunity that we have. Having hand tracking in the web is something that opens a lot of possibilities in terms of input and the creation of immersive experiences for our users. As you can see, we have infinite possibilities, but a lot of challenges for us, developers and designers. And one of those biggest challenges is how we can create a good user experiences for WebXR. The content that we are creating can be consumed in nearly every device. What happens if your user tries to open your experience in his phone or in his headset or even in a tablet? The use case is different, but the content is the same. So we need to adapt all the creations that we are making for all these kinds of devices. And to start answering these questions, we are going to start taking a look at the concept of presence. And what is presence in terms of immersive experiences? I like to say that presence is the feeling that you are there. You know, if you are in an application of augmented or virtual reality, having the sensation that you belong to the experience, that's presence. Having a good and meshed relationship between the virtual and the real world. And when we talk about presence in AR, it has to be in contact with the real space. The content that you are delivering to your user needs to be in good contact with the real space, because the real space is the canvas of your application in augmented reality. How we can create a good sense of presence in augmented reality? we need to keep in mind a couple of factors that affect or can impact negatively or positively the presence in augmented reality. The first one is control factors. And we have a couple of questions here. How is the degree of control that your user have in the application or in the 3D content that you are delivering? Are these controls easy to access? Is there a good immediacy of the control? Can the user anticipate to the events that will be triggered by those controls? Also, we have distraction factors. Distraction factors are tied to the attention. The real space is the canvas. There's a lot of distraction that could come from the space itself or on the app. How can we make the user focus in the content that we want? Those are the questions that we have to answer. And the goal, again, is to have a mesh relationship between the virtual and the real world. Let's take a look to a case study, an example of a WebXR application. This application is called Molecular Web. It's basically a website for chemistry and biology education through augmented reality, available out of the box in commodity devices. This is the project that I have been working on in the last 7 months here at EPFL. This project is funded by a grant of the Swiss National Science Foundation and EPFL. We are making this in the laboratory of biomolecular modeling. Basically, we have like more than 20 mini AR applications or activities for teaching chemistry and biology. It's fully open source. I will share the code with all of you. Basically, what we have here is a collection of interactive experiences. Some of them are just visualization in 3D, other you can interact with the molecules. But basically, we are delivering a way for teachers and students all over the world to interact in a different way with the basics concept of chemistry. Let's take a look on how the app looks. This is the view in mobile mode, in mobile portrait mode. You can see we have different controls here. And one of the first things that we wanted to add was a lot of controls, but how can we add these controls without limiting the focus of the user in the molecules itself? We need to have several buttons, several controls, but we do not want that those controls take the full attention of the user. So we decided to put those ones in like a side menu, and trying to use known icons that the user can immediately associate with an action. The user can anticipate an event. For example, if he tap this camera button, he will anticipate that it will change the camera where he's rendering or using for his experience. Also, it's an important thing to keep in mind that when you are creating an application that uses the camera of their mobile phone of your users, the users have really, really high expectations because they are used to using this kind of applications daily. For example, they take pictures with their phone. They use Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and all those apps have access for the camera. They can take pictures for sharing in social media, and all these apps has a terrific way for handling those ones. You can even add fancy filters and change the camera in a really smooth way. So the users has a really, really high expectations when it comes to the camera handling. So we needed to add all those things or try as much as we can to add all the same degree of control that users have in those kind of applications. Another important point was the selection of the color palette. This is something that we initially thought that wasn't a big deal, but actually it was a big deal because you can see the user can consume the application in different places in the world. Remember, the real world, the real space is your canvas. So you do not know and you can't control how will be the background of the application. So it needs to work, as you can see here, in a light background, and also in a dark background without affecting the contrast and the immediacy on degree of control. We also were wondering how can we put some kind of content or overlay content or information that it's big. I mean, we can't add this kind of things here. So what we decided to do was to create this like blur filter, but without removing the user from the AR mode itself. As you can see here in the picture, and we will see later on in a video, it's in general, it's a good idea to keep the camera active in the background, in AR mode, in the background, even when the user is seeing different kind of content, because you will not break presence. And that was our goal. You want to change the language of the application? Okay, just select the language you prefer, but we are not breaking the presence. You are still in AR mode, and you still can see the molecule in the background. And this is how the application looks in real time. It was created, as you can see, using a marker for tracking, for rendering the molecules and tracking. It was created with ARJS and A-frame. And as you can see, we have several controls here, and also in the bottom of the page where the user can activate gestures, change the molecule. And with the gestures, he can control the rotation and the scale of the molecule itself. And now we're going to see how it looks, the overlay that I told you before, and you will see that also you can change the camera, as you can see, and you will not lose presence. You are still in AR mode, and we try to do that as fast as we can, like in Instagram, for example. You can also mirror the camera, because when you are using the front camera and you are facing yourself, it's different on how you see when it's the back one, it's the back camera. So we needed to add that option too. And this is how it looks, the overlay. You can change the language, and then he will come back without breaking the presence. This is the menu, and you can see in the back how the molecule is still there. But that was the happy path, using the application in a standard mobile phone in portrait mode. It's okay. It's the happy path. That's how maybe you and me will use the application. But does the user think the same? In this point, it's important to think in the user's point of view. Will the user consume the application sitting, reclining, standing? Really standing for rendering molecules? And how does the content adjust to those different positions? Can the user adjust the content if he changed the position in AR mode without breaking the presence, without restarting everything and recreating everything? And will that be really comfortable? That's why we added landscape mode too, because our users ask for that a lot. Because you will, as you can see, even the render is way better, because you have a wider space for rendering a molecule, a protein, or DNA, whatever. But that was a huge challenge for us, because it was really hard to adapt all the menu, because you do not have many space for putting the controls without breaking presence and without making the user lose the focus on the important parts of the application, which are the molecules itself. We also have a desktop mode, and in desktop mode, you have different kind of inputs. Chances are that you do not have gestures there. You may have gestures in a desktop mode, because it can be an iPad with 12 inches of the screen, or a touch screen in a laptop, or a big screen. But chances are that you do not have the same inputs that you have in a mobile phone, and the screen it's bigger. So it's a different challenge, because you want to preserve, and you should preserve, the same degree of control that you have all across your different devices, but in desktop mode and in mobile mode and all the modes that you have. And the goal is that the user can switch between the computer and the tablet or the phone, and has the same degree of control, and can control the application in the same way. Now we'll take a look at a video on how it looks on desktop mode. As you can see, we have the different inputs, but the same results with the same degree of control. This is one of the applications that we have in Molecular Web. It's called the Virtual Modeling Kit. Basically, what it does is that you can paste or select a molecule from some predefined examples, or you can copy and paste there a PDV, which basically are atomic coordinates, and we will render that in 3D in AR mode. and you have different kind of controls. You can see as sticks or spheres. You can change the molecule again without breaking presence. We are not restarting the camera. We are not restarting anything, and you can control the size and the rotation of the molecules in a different way. In this case, we are doing that with buttons instead of gestures, because it's desktop, and chances are that you will not have that. You can also change the camera if it's available, or just change the mirror mode, because you can use the front camera or the back camera. But that was only in terms of augmented reality. We haven't talked about presence in VR itself. And let's talk about that. What was presence? The feeling that you are there. And remember that, the feeling that you are there. And in VR, it's super important, but in a different way than in augmented reality. In VR, we want that the information that we are perceiving is consistent with the real world. And remember, the feeling that you are really there. And there are a couple of factors that can impact presence in virtual reality. And they are different from augmented reality because the use cases are different. We have sensory factors, for example, the movement perception. If you are, for example, using hand tracking, the user expects that as he feels his hands, as he perceives the movement of his hands, it should be rendered real time, exactly as he's moving his hands. Another one is the environmental richness. For example, the sound, the 3D sound, the spatial sound, all those kind of things should work exactly the same as they work in the real world. And it comes to realism, talking about that. The scene realism is information consistent with the laws of the real world. Are the heavy stuff really heavy? Are the lights casting shadows? Those realism factors are the most important ones when we talk about presence in augmented reality. Because in augmented reality, you need to imagine what it's not there. The real space is not your canvas anymore. And I think that all the good virtual reality applications have in common is a nice way to make the user part of the environment without breaking presence. And that's how you can achieve that in virtual reality. In this video, you can see several VR experiences. And what does these experiences have in common? It's presence. The user is part of the environment. Now, before finishing, let's take a look to a demo. We are going to create a virtual picnic. Again, it's using WebXR technology. It's built on top of A-frame. And you can access this link in Glitch again. I will share that after the talk if you want. But you can take a look and you can render that, and you can see that in your phone or in your browser, on your desktop, or even if you have a VR headset, you will see that in VR mode too. And let's take a look about presence in VR for realism in this case. And when we talk about realism, one of the most important concepts is the real scale. It's the scale itself. We want that the objects that users are used to, the day-to-day, the everyday objects and spaces that make up our world, should be as real as possible in terms of scale. So we want that the measurements and the sizes of these real world objects are as real as possible. And for that matter, a nice application or a nice website is dimensions.com, which basically has a database for reference of these kind of day-to-day objects. I use that every day for creating these kind of applications and trying to recreate the real scale of our world, but in virtual reality or in 3D. Because you don't want to create a virtual reality application and break the scale, for example, from Danny DeVito, which, as a fun fact, is part of dimensions.com. We're going to start the picnic adding a grill. And here you can see that this grill found in dimensions.com comes in different ways. One is this view that compares the size of the element that we want to place in virtual reality or in 3D in general on with a person, with a real person. So you can make a mental model on how big should be this grill when you translate that into an immersive experience. And also you will have the exact measurements of that grill itself. You can then, when you know the measurements, you can then take a look, or you can use the same. Sometimes you can download the exact same model, but in this case, we take a look or search for that model in another tool that I use every day for creating this kind of applications, which you may know, and is Sketchfab. You can find there thousands and thousands of 3D models. Ones are for free, ones are paid, but you can find almost everything there. I highly recommend taking a look on that. Also had a great support for different kind of formats, of file extensions. You can take a look to that. And we found this grill, which is a little bit similar to this one. And we're going to use that for our virtual picnic. We saw here that it's almost 1 meter high. And now we should proceed to add that one to our WebXR application. In this case, I use A-Frame, which is a web-based framework for creating WebXR applications. It's completely based on HTML, so it's super easy to learn, and it's so fun. I highly recommend that. Also has a A-Frame inspector. You can hit Ctrl-Alt-I in any A-Frame based WebXR experience, and you will see this 3D environment. If you have some experience creating 3D stuff on Blender, Cinema 4D, or any other CAD program, you will find that very, very similar. And you can here edit the scale and the position of the element in the 3D world that you are creating. So it's super handy for handling these kind of things of a scale. And once we added the grill, we can adjust to match this exact same, or at least as accurate as possible, the size of this grill. And once we have the grill with the correct measurements, we are going to add a dock. In dimensions.com, you will find a lot of different docks. I use this Husky, which is pretty beautiful. I found that one on Sketchfab too. You can download that for free. I will share the links after the talk. And also, you have the measurements of a pretty similar dock to the one that we are going to use. And again, it's super useful to have a real comparison in terms of a scale on how big is the dock in comparison to a person, because actually that's what we are going to, or we want to create when creating this kind of immersive experiences. We saw that he's between 67 and almost 80 centimeters high, which is a little bit less than the grill. So another tip that I would like to share is that you can use, once you have added an element, you can use that element as a scale, as a measure of scale for the other elements. And in this case, it was a coincidence, the grill was 1 meter high, so that will be our base for scaling the dock. And again, it's super handy to do that in A-Frame Inspector. Again, just Ctrl-Alt-I in any A-Frame application, and you will immediately see this 3D environment. And once we added the dock, we also added a table. I will not share that because it will be so long, but this is how you will see the picnic in terms of VR and scale. And you can see we added also hand tracking, which also helps us to see the scale in terms of the realism of the application that we create. We will see that again. You can see the dog and the table, and again the hands help a lot for presence, because you will feel that you are there, that you belong there. And that's it for me. We are shaping the future all the people that are here and are creating or wanting to create technology are shaping the future, and all the developments that we do with this kind of technology will shape on how the people interact with technology in the upcoming 10 or 20 years. So let's make science fiction a reality. Thank you so much.
Yep. Yeah. Thank you, Fabio. That was a lovely session.
Great. Hope you like it. Any questions in the chat?
Yes, there was one that I find quite interesting, and that was this. Can you see this?
Okay. Multiplayer SDKs. Actually, for WebXR, you can use any technology available for the web. So if you have an engine or a library that can power multi-user, you can bring that to WebXR. And there is an A-frame framework I told you before that was originally created by Mozilla. It's open source. There is a lot of examples that you can take a look for creating multiplayer experiences. Also, there are some social VR applications based on web, like this one from Mozilla. I can't remember the name right now. Mozilla Hubs, that's the name. Mozilla Hubs is multiplayer too. You can multiple users can be at the same time in the same place. So yeah, definitely yes, you can do that.
Yep. So okay. So if there's any question, you can drop your question on the chat. But I mean, I personally, seeing what's happening with WebXR and seeing the fact that most XR companies are starting to see the immense importance for WebXR. So in the next 5 years, where do you see WebXR?
Wow, I think we are going to experience a huge increase on WebXR applications, because the API was launched last year, and there have been a lot of new developments that are currently on beta, but they will be launched soon as part of the standard. For example, the hand tracking stuff right now is in beta. If you want to try that in Oculus browser, for example, you need to activate some flags and do some nerd stuff that regular users probably won't do. But you can try that. You can definitely try that. It will be open in a few months, I guess. So it will be natural at some point. There are also another feature from WebXR API that I particularly love. I saw that a few weeks ago, and it was impressive. I was really impressed, and it's called WebXR Layers. I think WebXR Layers will be the turning point for rendering immersive media rather than 3D content itself. I mean, you are in immersive and 360 world, but the way that you render text, images, and video in immersive mode in WebXR will change drastically when these come to open, because the change is amazing. You know, if you use glasses as me and try doing this, that's exactly the change that you will see when you open an XR application that use layers and one that use not layers. So I think in terms of 3D media and 3D content, it will be amazing. Also, with all the gatekeepers that we'll know there are in the VR ecosystem, especially in terms of the app stores, you can bypass all of them if you do your VR stuff based in web. So that's a nice opportunity as well.
Thank you. I mean, that was lovely. I think there's one question here that I'm saying I think is really for you. So
yes, WebXR is standardized. Yes, it's available for us to use right now. I think it's part of the versions of Chrome app of the 79 version. So you use one of the latest version of Google Chrome in your phone, you will have access to the WebXR API. Also, if you have a headset, you can a VR headset. You can use Oculus browser, and it will have the latest versions as well. I think Mozilla has support for Apple devices. There is no WebXR support yet, but I think it will come someday because they are making huge improvements in terms of WebGL and 3D rendering stuff. So I think it will be there soon.
Yep. Great. Since okay. Yep, exact question I was about to ask, and that was about data for WebXR, and this question just came up.
Amazing question. That's really a good question, because when you have 3D content, 3D content is it used to be, or not used to be, no, it's heavy. Sometimes you can have a 3D model that is super heavy, that is super heavy. For example, in the application I show you of the molecules, we have some 3D models that was like 300 megabytes each. So it's super heavy. You can put that I mean, you can, but it will never load in a mobile phone with a standard connection, and it's super heavy. So you can compress the data of the 3D models using a technology called Draco, which was created by Google. It's amazing. It's really amazing. You can have up to 95% of file compression without losing quality at all. It's exactly the same quality, but the only restriction it has is only compresses the mesh of your 3D model. So if the size of your model depends on the textures, on the materials, you can't compress that, or you can, but not this way. But if the mesh is the one that is heavy, that makes your model heavy, you can compress that. And then using this Draco technology, before publishing, you can compress that, like encrypting the model. You can have up to 95% of compression, and then you upload that to your website, and client side, you can decompress that, disencrypt the file and render that immediately. So it's really amazing, and you definitely can do that.
In terms of compression, I was wondering, like, what's your take on Facebook compression? Like, if you develop with Spark AR Studio and then you see the way their compression engine works, what's your comment on that?
I am not super familiar with the compression on a Spark AR or Facebook at all, to be honest. But if you use Draco, which is an open source library, you can compress 3D models in general, and you can decompress that on client side. It has a library that you can do it on your own, or if you use a library like Model Viewer from Google too, or A-Frame in ARJS and 3JS, you can decompress your files in a seamless way, and you will see that a nice render without losing quality and having a good size for delivering your content.
Okay, so I saw this.
I am not sure, to be honest, but I think someday it will be part of the WebXR API. But I'm not sure, to be honest, if it's part of the plan. You can always take a look at the Immersive Web community group. It's amazing. They share with us, with the community in general, all the plans that they have and all the specs that they are making as a draft. And you can try the new specs on beta, like the layers things that I told you. So you can take a look there and see which are the new features that are being launched. But I hope they will use OpenXR as a standard, because that will improve a lot in general the ecosystem of delivering XR content.
Okay, so now we have this.
Okay, what do you think, people? I think it's still not a super mature standard, and so many people doesn't know that yet, or doesn't know what are the things that you can do, because we had the WebVR API for a few years, running out. But it was hard for us developers creating content with WebVR. I mean, with A-Frame, it was kind of easy. But in terms of control and how fast the hardware for VR are being developed, that was hard to keep that in track, and that's why the WebXR API standard comes from, to unify all those things. So I think in the future, we will start seeing more people adopting WebXR, because as you say, there's a lot of people who knows JavaScript. There are a lot of people, and the goal of most of these WebXR open source project is that people who already know JS but do not know anything of 3D can anyway create or can still do some great 3D content without being a 3D developer as well. So I think it will have more traction definitely in the future, also with these new standards. Like the layers, the hand tracking, and all those things that are coming soon to the WebXR API, I think that will give more traction in terms of the possibilities that you have for delivering content.
Yeah. And I think we just have time for 2 more questions. I'm just going to randomize it. Okay.
Great.
And okay, this is the question directly to Draco.
Not exactly. Not exactly for compressing USD Z files using Draco itself. Right now, Draco works with GLTF and GLB models, but I think USD and USDC in general have their own way to compress things, and so you can have a good compression results in that way. But with Draco, no, not yet. Hopefully we get that soon, because the USDC doesn't support GLTF, so you can convert that in an easy way. You need to have a specific tools for converting those file formats. So right now it's not supported.
Thank you. I mean, there's also one question here. I mean, seeing the fact that Unity is that go-to platform for XR developers. So I think a question from Simon. Just touch that.
Oh, if you ask me, I have a super biased answer. Obviously, WebXR. But I think it depends on which platform you feel more comfortable. If you have some knowledge of web development, you will find WebXR really, really fun, because you can start pretty easily with A-Frame, for example, which uses HTML tags for creating 3D content. So you will feel this super intuitive and super natural way for doing that. Less problems? I'm not sure. It's painful anywhere. So it depends on which platform you feel comfortable, definitely. But I highly suggest WebXR. It's so fun. Well, accessibility is something really, really important. I know there are some people, there's a super talented team of people working on accessibility, and they are creating a standard for that. So I can't remember right now which is the name of there's a girl, I can't remember her name now, but I will share you if you can ping me in the Discord group. In the Discord community, I can share with you all the things that are related to accessibility for XR. And in terms of WebXR, there are some accessibility efforts already done by, for example, Model Viewer. Model Viewer is this library created by Google where you can see 3D content on the web. You can put a 3D model in the web as easy as you can now add an image or a video in regular web. And you can add a 3D model that easy, or at least that's the goal, with just one HTML tag and source, and that's it. And when you inspect the element or use that with a screen reader, it has support for accessibility and tells the user what is he seeing and in which direction is he rotating the 3D element in real time. So it's a nice way to start adding accessibility for this kind of applications.
So this is probably going to be our last question.
Okay.
I personally find this.
I haven't tried that. I haven't tried that, so I can't tell you with confidence an answer for hand tracking on Android phones. I have tested hand tracking with WebXR, but only in the Oculus Quest, and works really, really well. It's impressive. It's amazing to have hand tracking in the web. It's amazing, but using media pub integration on Android phones, I haven't tried that.
Yep. And thank you, Fabio. I mean, it was a lovely session. I'm sure I'm going to go now and I'll try with WebXR.
Great. Give it a try. It will be worth it. So if anyone have any other questions or comments, you can reach me out in Discord or in Twitter. I will be there and happy to answer any questions you have. Hope you like it.
I mean, do you mind dropping your Twitter handle so people can follow you and drop games?
Okay, it's I'm not sure how to share that. I'm not sure how to share that. I can share my screen maybe. Let me try. I'm not sure if it will work because I would spell my Twitter in Spanish, so I am not sure if that will be easy. But I can share my screen briefly, really quickly. And are you seeing that? No. Yeah. This is my Twitter handle at Fabio J Cortez, Fabio J Cortez in Spanish. You can reach me there, and happy to answer any question you have on help you creating your WebXR experiences.
Yep. Thank you, Fabio. See you.
Great, thank you. Thanks for the opportunity, and have a good rest of the session, of the amazing sessions that are coming soon.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.